right, we're starting our second unit review. And I know that fractions and decimals may be getting old, but thank goodness you're on your way to decimal success. Now, the first thing that we want to do today is talk about converting fractions to decimals. This is not so hard once you learn that trick. Now, it says here that base 10 blocks are getting old, I know, but if you use them anytime you see a denominator of 10 or 100, it will make conversions a cinch. Anytime that there is a fraction that's over 10 or over 100, you just have to visualize these base 10 blocks, and converting it to a decimal should be simple. Now, the first thing we want to look at, and let's say that we colored these and we have 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say that we have those colored. Obviously not the neatest coloring, but you get the drift. We have 35 little hundredth blocks colored. So that's going to be written 35 over 100. Now, I know that this part seems easy, right? Well, to convert this to a decimal, all you have to do is know that the last number is going to end in the hundredths place. And we know that because it's over 100. So you simply have to know your place value. And we've already learned this, that this is the tenths place, and that this is the hundredths place. So what we're going to do is we know that the 5 will end in the hundredths place. So place the 5 here and place the 3 here. And we simply have 35 hundredths. So if you're writing it as a decimal, it's going to be decimal 35. Now let's look. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 longs. 6 longs is the same as 6 over 10, and we know that because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in each one. Now, in place value, we learned that any number over 10 means that it is a tenth, like we would say 6 tenths. So, in the decimal place, it's going to come in the tenths place, right like that. 6 tenths. Decimal 6. Now you can put a 0 before. That's fine. The 0 doesn't mean anything there. So now we're going to color in 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say that. Okay. So now we have 44 hundredths colored. So we would write that as 44 over 100. Now, how would our decimal be written? I want to give you a second to think about that. Da, 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 da. All right, anybody know it? Yes, our decimal is going to be written with a 4 in the tenths place and a 4 in the hundredths place. Very good. Now here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 longs. And we know from before that we're going to put that over 10. So 8 over 10 is going to be the same thing as an 8 in the tenths place. Okay? Now last one, last big one like this. When you see these kind of questions on test, they might give you several of these hundredth blocks like this. And they might say, pick which one represents, and they might say something like, 48 hundredths. Well, you would have to pick the right one. So it's important to know this. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 longs colored, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be 57 over 100. And that's going to give us 57 hundredths. Now, these are simple. Hundredths and tenths are so easy to do. There are several, though, that your children need to have memorized. And I know you've probably heard about the horrible pop quizzes we may have given, but it's imperative, which kids, that means it's a must, that you know these 5 conversions. You have to know them. Okay? One is 1/2, which equals decimal 5. The other is 1/4, which equals 0.25. Then the other, 3/4 equals 75 hundredths. Then 1/3 is approximately. Notice the new symbol here, and they do need to know approximately. You need to know that that symbol means approximately 33 hundredths. And then they need to know that 2/3 is approximately 67 hundredths. So, one easy way to remember this is play like this is a quarter. Yep, a quarter. And say it like that, because we know that 4 quarters equals 25 cents. Okay? So make it like that's a quarter. And then over here, envision 3/4. 75 cents. When in doubt, go with money. Okay? And always remember that a $50 is 50 cents. And you could even write a 0 over here. That's fine. Remember, zeros don't mean anything. So if it helps you remember, 1/2 equals 50, just the same as 1/2 equals $1/2 equals 50 cents. Now, let's move on. And I know you're excited. You're on the edge of your seat. What are we going to cover? And it's going to be decimal fraction equivalents, just what we were talking about. So here you're going to get to practice what we just learned. Okay? I'm going to give you just a second to figure this out. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right. Just like Alex Trebek would, guys, I'm back. And I wanted to see what you got. So let's look at this. And now let's look at 57 over 100. We would write that as a decimal as 57 hundredths. Now, 1/4 can also be said as 1/4, okay? And we can write that just like that. A half or a $50 is equal to 50 hundredths or 5/10. And 1/3, and I'm going to put this right here. We're going to change that little sign to an approximate because equals is not right, is approximately 33 hundredths. So if you got this right now, you can either do your noodle dance or you can give yourself a pat on the back. Great job. Now, let's go on. We're we're going to do comparing fractions. How do we compare fractions? Well, you simply have to look and see if we can find a common denominator. We know that here 3 and 6 do share multiples. 3 is actually, or 6 is actually a multiple of 3. So all I have to think of is, how can I make 1/3 equal 6? Well, I know that to get from 3 to 6, I would have to multiply by 2. And I'm going to follow our golden rule and do whatever I do to the bottom to the top. So 1 times 2 is 2, so that gives me 2 6. So I know that now we can do away with that number and put 2 6 here. And which one's more? Yes, 5 6 is the larger one. Okay? Here, this is pretty easy to see that 1/8 and 1/8 are equal to one another. So simple. Good job. Now, this is easiest to do with a decimal conversion. If we know that 1/4 is 25 cents, and 1/3 is approximately 33, and if we were getting money for it, it'd be 33 cents. Which one would you rather have, 33 cents or 25? Well, I don't know about you, but I would rather have 33. So, we know that 1/3 is more than 1/4. All right, we're going to take a break right here, and then we'll come back in just a little bit and finish up this unit review. Thanks, guys.